I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see a few insights here. And remind me, I know you guys use Fair Harbor. Adam, do you guys use Fair Harbor or a different booking software there?
I'm using something different,
Yeah.
but I know about
Okay, cool. Okay, so let me know if this isn't coming through, but I'm sure you guys can see my screen here.
Yeah, you're good.
I just need to change where you guys are so I can see my own screen. Okay, minimize that. There we go. So yeah, there's a couple new announcements with Fair Harbor specifically. And this is going to be important across the board, whether you're using a different software or not, because what they're basically doing is they're giving you the outline of what you're going to need to get your products ready for distribution. So kind of as our fortnight highlight, this call is the Fair Harbor Content Builder. So this is something they just released 22 hours ago. So really, really new, right? And it's something that we've been beta testing for a little bit. So we've actually gone through and built some of this. So we want to give you kind of an overview, first scoop on why it's important. But this is something they just launched. So in the content builder and with OTAs, you're going to find out that there's like certain things that you need to build out for each of your items to be able to be like listed on OTA platforms effectively. So when you move from a basic info section to the content builder, you're going to see that it highlights specific things about the tours that are super important. So I think the key here, whether it's OTAs or direct on your website, is you want to give the customer just enough information to get them to book, right? And then a lot of the other details you can kind of just provide later, right? So in the beginning, you want to qualify your customer, make sure that whoever's booking it is qualified to take the ride or your tour. Because we don't want a lot of people booking and then having to cancel because, you know, they weren't either the right age or didn't have the right group size, things like that. When you switch to Content Builder, it's going to give you a new outline. And what they highlight in Content Builder, you'll see, and this could work for your website as well, is an overview, activity details, additional information, FAQs, and cancellations. So I know for us, initially when we had, you know, when we were building out our items, our tours, our rentals, our experiences, we had like the basics, right? Like we knew how long it was going to be. We knew the meeting point, cancellation, age, and price, right? But we didn't necessarily like dive into all the relevant details that the customer needs and wants to know before they arrive to your experience. And I think it's super important to do that because like these customers, if you really think about it, depending on where they are and where they're coming from, like they might not even know that you have free parking at your facility, right? Or that there's bathrooms there or where to eat after or certain things. So I think what Fair Harbor did here was super important because it allowed you to dive into more activity details rather than just a description. You can put what's included, what's not included. You can give them an itinerary, right? You can do certain highlights on certain destinations. And then you can include, you know, additional information, check-in details, what to bring, any special requirements, restrictions. So it forces you as the business owner to really dive in and think about like what is actually required for an experience, like all of the details that someone would need to know to come and have a successful experience with your business. They even have FAQs for each item. And then the cancellation, usually your default cancellation notes are going to be displayed unless you change those. But yeah, I mean, as far as what you show on your website and now what's in these items, I think it's super helpful for guests to be able to get the short overview and then like they can get into any of these details that they want to see and expand. But they start out with them not being expanded because really like they just need to know this. And if they're good with the price and the experience, they can move on and just purchase. But if they need a little bit of info before they make a decision, they can look at the additional information, make sure it all looks good, and then move to book. So what are your guys' thoughts here as far as like when you take the item, like the basic description and everything, and really expand it out? Have you guys thought about with your tours, like outlining what's included, what's not included, itineraries? Have you built itineraries for them? Like, what are your thoughts on this whole content builder? Because it's probably the first time you've seen something like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I like that it condenses it all because my biggest thing with a lot of times with online is how much is like death by over information.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because right now it's like you have to manually sort it and format it, whether it's Markdown or whatever format you want to use, and then redo that for every single one, and it's not always applicable. So that's interesting for sure.
Yeah. And this is something that you should be able to opt into. If you don't see it on your Bear Harbor, you can, email your account manager and just let them know that you want content builder turned on. But this is definitely going to help when it comes to online travel agencies, because this is a lot of the information that you're going to need to go and fill out a successful product on an online travel agency like Get Your Guide or Viator. So, I
Really
think,
quick, Adam,
oh,
what
go
were
ahead.
your thoughts? He was unmuted for a second.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, thank you, guys. Uh, yeah, I wanted to say that it's looks simple, but it's also detailed. There's actually similar platforms and similar tools and tours builders. So yeah, it looks good to me, but it's not a big difference as maybe in my idea I've seen something similar
Yeah.
before.
Well, and initially with Bear Harbor, it was pretty basic. Like they didn't give all those options. Like it was just a description, and then you kind of had to outline this yourself. So this was like is new for their software, but you're totally right. Like when it comes to most travel companies, like it did take them a while to get to this point, in my opinion. Like this could have been done a long time ago because like it has become kind of the standard. Like when you look at Google to do Get Your Guide Viator, like these pieces have already been built out. So that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, if you haven't come in here and really outline those, this kind of layout will definitely be, it'll feel more natural for your guests to book direct because it looks similar to like an online travel agency hotel. Like it's just better structured, right?
Hmm.
Who
Yeah,
do
I
you use?
understand.
Yeah, who do you use, Adam, for your
Yeah, so I used BookYou several years ago,
okay.
and now I'm a booking guy.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. So kind of similar.
I
Yeah.
yeah I also used RISD and RISGO before.
Okay. Yeah, ResD. Nice. I've seen ResD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that I think helped a lot, and we've done this for a while now too, is the highlights. So we
Hmm.
connect like I think the traveler nowadays, like they're price sensitive, obviously, but they're looking for the most they can do, for a certain price, right? So if you have specific highlights that maybe they want to see, like for us, people want to go see the top of the world. They want to go in the dunes. They want to see the sunset. Like the more things you can kind of pack into the highlights, guess it's kind of a value add proposition, right? Hey, if you go on our tour, the different thing about us is we're actually going to get all six of these things done. You're going to be able to see all of this stuff where some person, some company might just highlight a sunset tour and all they talk about is all they're going to do is the sunset. So really highlighting like things that they're going to be able to do, places that they're going to get photos of, it'll help them feel like they're getting more done, and they are, right? You're providing more value. So you'll either get a better price or a better conversion rate because they're getting all of this for the same price as what could be perceived as just a sunset tour, right? So I would spend some time on those highlights. And the interesting thing here is if you go to Google and make tourist attractions, once you go to OTAs, those tourist attractions will naturally show up in highlights. So you can select you can select that you're visiting the places that you created in the first place anyways. So you can kind of build your own highlights around a tour. Like let's say you're, in a lake and there's not really any like spots to see, like you can create your own spots to see and then add it in highlights once you get to the OTA side. Cool. So
Yeah, very cool, yeah.
any other thoughts here from anyone on the actual item structure?
Yeah, so far, is it translated? There is a translation feature or something.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get to the booking flow, and that's a good point, is you can add the translation feature to the flow in the bottom left so they can just switch the language and everything. Some people that doesn't really get on your booking flow naturally. So if you don't have like different languages, you can request from Fair Harbor to have the different languages, the translation. We did that with also the secured icon just so it looks like the payment's more secure, things like that. So yeah, it's important to think
And
about
so,
like all the different types of people that are going to book, right? Not just your local demographic. Yeah.
and when it comes to payment, do Per Harbor takes monthly or take monthly and also a commission percentage for each booking coming from OTA or
Oh, great question. Yeah. So in Fair Harbor, that you basically pay Fair Harbor a fee when somebody makes an online booking. They'll add a 6% charge to the guest, and
oh okay.
the guest pays that fee only for online bookings. And then if you make a direct booking over a phone call, then you only pay a transaction fee. And the transaction fee is 1.9%, depending on your revenue. But yeah, that's kind of like their fee process. They haven't added fees for OTAs yet. There's talks about that, but they haven't added extra fees yet to the connection. So let's move a little bit into the OTAs because this is like the fun new stuff that we spent like 4 days doing last week. And when you get into Fair Harbor or any platform that you use, one of the advantages is like the API partner directory. Like I can make a booking software, but if it doesn't have an API partner directory, then it limits your sales channels like drastically, right? I can build these organically in other platforms, but the API is nice because they can, connect those bookings and have them show up automatically instead of having to like manually put them in every time they're booked. But if you're looking for OTA channels, the key that I found is come to the directory, and I basically went in, Googled each of these, read about them. You want to find platforms that have your customers in them. It doesn't matter too much the size of the platform. Size is always great, but you don't want to be on a platform where your customers aren't. Like you don't want to put that work into showing up on there. So successful ones for us have been Booking.com, Expedia, Viator, Google, GetYourGuide. And some of these other ones we've had occasional deals from. But yeah, these top 5 have been very good for us. So, but you can tell there's a bunch of different ones in certain niches. And if you do certain tours that we don't do, like bike tours, then this would probably be great for you, but not so good for us because we don't offer bike tours, So really look into the platform. Some of these give you different customer types. Like Civitades we've worked with, and we've got a few customers from them. They're more of a Spanish speaking market. So then you would need to know like, okay, we got to make sure our products are set up well for the Spanish market. But ultimately here, what the goal is you want your items set up so well and all of this info dialed so that when you go to do APIs and partner directories, you're basically just moving the information into the partner portal and hitting submit, right? And getting bookings. So any questions on like how to find an OTA or what OTAs work good or experience from the group like on OTAs that have worked well for you guys? Anything like that?
Personally, you want to ask something, please?
Yeah.
So, when it comes to OTA listed on Fair Harbor, usually there is a contract need to be signed with each and every single OTA,
Is
right?
that the question? Yeah, usually you basically email them and tell them that you want to opt in. And the I don't know how official the contracts are. I don't really remember signing like a specific contract, but usually there is at least an agreement and then a stated commission that they're going to take. And then you have to agree to like, okay, we agree to
Sure.
that commission. And that's kind
The
of like
yeah.
the contract. Yeah.
The question is, it doesn't mean if my experience is on Fair Harbor that it's allowed for me to be on these OTAs. Man, am I right?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you have to opt in. Yeah. If you don't want OTAs, you just leave it off. And once you're ready to start, then you would contact them and say, hey, I want to, make a relationship with Fighter and get started. So you'll come in here, read what you need to do, and, follow the link to complete the sign up application. So otherwise, they won't put your products on OTAs. It's an opt-in process. Yeah.
Right, right. So there will have to be like direct communication and then wait for their response and emails and either their work was awesome. Yeah, understand.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. They
Yeah.
also have their own distribution network. So the fun thing here is, I mean, we can pick a certain place. Like maybe we should go to Tucson, Arizona, because we've got Arizona on the call representing here. Let's see. So if I come to Tucson, oh, there's two Tucsons. Let's get both of them. So this is the Fair Harbor Distribution Network. So let's say I'm in Tucson, Arizona. If I'm a company that opts into the Fair Harbor Distribution Network, I'm going to show up here. And this is basically a free for all. Like anyone can come in here that's part of the Fair Harbor Distribution Network and they can resell my tours at a set price of 20% is what Fair Harbor said. So if you want to sell other people's products that are near you, you can come in here. And this is a good way to make extra business, right? Off of just what you don't have to fulfill, but you just want to sell it because you have a lot of traffic on your site. I can start selling these Pierce Wine Trail winery tours. I can start selling these other ones. And it'd be interesting to see like in what countries they have stuff. Right now I'm only seeing state and city, so I'm not sure if it's in different countries, but you can put other people's products on your page and resell them. So if I don't offer a rappel, but I'm getting tourists to my sites, I can get these links, put them on there, and I'll make 15% off of reselling that product, and then Fair Harbor takes 5%. So this is pretty fun. We're adding an other things to do page to Mad Moose, so we can list these and have a new revenue stream of reselling other products. So that's Fair Harbor's unique kind of themselves as an OTA. Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what we did last week with a specific OTA called GetYourGuide. That's these guys. And kind of show you how this works. Does this make sense so far? I feel weird because I can't see everyone, but I'm going to keep going.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense. I actually really
Okay.
like that, especially like think about a missed call, right? Like, oh, we're looking to rent a boat. You're like, well, we don't do that, but
Mhm. And you might have paid for the marketing dollars for them to call you. So it's like, well, let's get something out of them. And if you refer people to other businesses that are on the phone, you might text them your link, your API link. So when they click it and book, you get a commission off of it. So, and 15% is pretty good.
Well, and not only that too, like if our goal is to be a resource for all of our customers, then it just sets you apart as well, right? Like, oh, like, yeah, you can go and do this, or you can go eat here. And so for us, I know we talked about, sales training in a phone script a few weeks ago, but how can we set ourselves up so that when anyone calls in, like they're getting value every single time, even if they don't book with us, although the ultimate goal would be to have them book with us, right?
Yeah. And man, the fun part about it all is, you can kind of win your direct traffic, and we all, most of us, if not all of us, pay ad money to, Google to get people to our business. And it kind of gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, you can spend unlimited amounts of money on Google ads, right? Trying to market to maybe the whole nation or other countries. But it gets to a point where it's not really scalable for a small business to try and do that, right? Like our marketing teams aren't big enough. So I like to tell people to have a certain budget on your ads, and that's, 5% of revenue has been the general rule. And then once you're trying to like go big into different markets and like different countries, different languages, different customer types, it makes a lot of sense to go the OTA route, because the benefit is you're able to list for free, and they put that information for free on their platforms and spread that information. There's backlinks, there's articles, you can get into their blogs if your product does well. So a lot of that building part of it is free, and there's no risk to the business owner, right? I'm not paying ad revenue to get more content out there. I'm just putting it on their platform. And then the OTA, like Get Your Guide or Viator, they're the ones that are taking all the risk and putting all that ad money out there to get people to book, that are like different customers that are already booking with you. And first of all, right? So there's a lot of chatter online about like the OTA fees and how life is just unfair. But honestly, like if you have the right mindset towards it, you really are getting new customers. There's no risk, and you only pay a fee when somebody actually books. You know what I mean? So there's a ton of resources that are in your control. And what we do is we definitely take that risk. Like we list on a lot of OTAs, and then we wait for that revenue to come through, and we pay the fee, which is 30% in some cases, but we're not paying, ad revenue to advertise to all these people. And if no one books, then we'd be just out everything. So I really like the strategy on that side of things.
Yeah, one quick note too is in most booking softwares, or at least in Fair Harbor, you can set those affiliate rules as well, right? So like if there's certain, like say you want to just try and push more people to weekdays, you can do that. If you want to have blackout dates for holidays or whatever. So it really is within your control. So as we go through this, I would just be asking yourself, like, what is it going to take for me to start implementing these? Like if it makes sense for you. And or like what are the initial thoughts or fears that I have behind these as well, so that we can like quickly identify those and work through those. Because yeah, like Spencer said, a lot of people like just see the big fee where it's like, yeah, there's no risk in the beginning, right? Like you only pay for when you get the booking. So just be asking yourself those questions as business owners, because if you haven't done one of these yet, it could just be you didn't know about them, or it could be like there's a fear or limiting belief behind it. And we want to get to the bottom of that so that you can reach more customers and ultimately like have more of the market share.
Yep. Agreed. So, and here's the part, right? Like we're listed on here for free, on their website, and you can see like you can make specific titles. You want to make an item on the OTA page that connects with the customers that they're going to be advertising to. So, excuse me. The big difference here for us specifically was when we rent or do tours, we're listing our prices by machine, and we say, hey, it's a 4-seater, it's a 6-seater, it's a 2-seater. And then they kind of know, okay, I'll get the 4-seater for $500. On OTA platforms, these companies really work on the per person level. So instead of saying like, okay, here's a 4-seater and a 2-seater, what we've done here is we've redone all our products to be on a per person level, because it fits the selling platform, like the platform that we're listed on. So a lot of people like to come in here, hit check availability, they select how many adults they have, how many, youth they have, day they want to ride, and then check availability. It adds it all up. Here's your total price, right? So you want to build your items for the platform that you're getting listed on. And the reason is because when you're getting compared against other items, like let's say we looked at Hurricane Utah and found other items nearby, or Kanab, like you'll see a lot of those items. Well, I guess all these are ours, so I gotta go to find a different spot. Maybe try Kanab. Like if I have other competitors on here that, let's say, this guy might be doing it by machine, like that first off looks way more expensive than these other per person ones that are 39. It's a different experience, but if you have the whole machine listed right off the bat, it'll look like it's more expensive than the rest of them. So you want to fit into the market that's on there rather than like be that one off that people are like, well, why is that so much? So that's why we've changed all of these to per person and built a bunch of new items. Like this one's 303 per person. Like that's quite a bit, right? Compared to any of these. So if you're shopping, like most people are going to go towards our products. To kind of get back to that, you want to structure for the OTA and for the customer that's on the OTA. So to give you an example, like we rebuilt all our products like last week, right? This is super what is happening now in our business. So we built 8 products by Sunday and made them live on Monday. And by Tuesday morning, we'd already done, $2,500 worth of bookings in the Get Your Guide platform. So we're going to be paying commissions on those, but also you can tell like there's traction there, right? It's a sales channel. It might not be your most lucrative sales channel, but it adds revenue to the business and consistency to the business because it's you're distributing your risk among different channels. So let's kind of go into one of these and we can show you what that looks like on the back end here.
Any questions so far on any of this OTAs in general? No questions? You guys got it? You're good to go?
Yeah, they're ready.
We're so ready. Do you have Get Your Guide is actually one of the few that I've talked to beforehand. Is this your first experience with them? Like that booking, that revenue you said you just got?
So we've been with them for a little while and we've had our products listed by machine, not by person. So we've been getting bookings, but we switched it recently to per person model because we realized it fit the platform way better. And then we'd have more traffic through that. So I think that's why we increased our bookings so dramatically. Like in a day, right? Like if that's like 48 hours, you get $2,500.
Because I haven't had luck with them, but I was doing it the same way you guys did. So maybe I'll try swapping that. Yep.
Yeah, and we had some luck, but yeah, when you come in here, you can change a lot of things. Like they have a new AI implementation in here, which is kind of fun because when you make a new product, the AI kind of fills out a lot for you, and it was like surprisingly good. When you submit like your original description, it'll help fill out the rest. But yeah, you want to have a really good customer facing title. They usually recommend putting the location and then the actual title of your product. The other important thing that they don't really talk about is keywords. So this is very important on Get Your Guide as well as Viator. When you get to your keywords, you're picking which keywords you rank for within their platform. So you can turn on advanced search and choose different keywords, and you want as many categories as you can be in that make sense, right? Technically, we could be in just the sports and wellness and adrenaline section. Like I could select a bunch here, but then I would only show up in one section of their listings, right? So I want to be in as many sections of their listings as I can. So I'm in 8 sections of their listings rather than 1. So I'll show up more places when people search, and it's more likely that they'll find me and book. So the keywords is important because you want to find relevant keywords in different categories. So that's kind of a little trick there. But you'll start to notice as you build the OTA, it's going to have the same build as that content builder in Fair Harbor. So you'll be able to copy and paste over what's included, what's not included. You'll be able to enter the guide information, a bunch of other information that they ask for. So the big thing is you want to fill this out as good as possible. If you guys want to go to our items and look how we did it, like we spent, 4 days straight analyzing other people's listings that were doing really well. And that's kind of a good strategy. Like find a product in your area that's selling really well and has a ton of reviews. We're not the best in our area. There's a product in Kanab that has like 500 reviews and we have like 35 reviews. And we were like, okay, what's the difference? And it was that, like, it's the per person. They're presenting it better. They have it, dialed, filled out. You've got to have your, your key photo that everybody loves. All of these different options. And you can choose to list by machine or per person. So we went through and rebuilt these to be all per person products. So it matched. And yeah, that was a huge difference. Like if we did normally like 5 to 8 grand a month and get your guide, now it's going to increase dramatically. I'm hoping, right? This is all live stuff, so no guarantees, but definitely headed the right direction in the last 48 hours. So you can also add special offers in the beginning to get a little boost. I think Get Your Guide will boost, new products for a little bit. And that's a good idea. Mainly you want to boost the product for the first little bit, and you might price it a little lower in the beginning because basically you just want traction, right? Like you want people to go to your product and see 39 reviews. So you've got to put some business through the platform to get some credibility, to have the proof and the experience to like continue scaling it. So a little bit of an investment in the beginning as far as like what you're pricing it for could make sense. So
Can I ask, do you scale your pricing to match their commission eventually?
not I wouldn't say not really, because it's like I thought about doing that, like scaling it up, but then it's you kind of just analyze the platform. Like on Get Your Guide, like where we're running, it's anywhere from 99 bucks a person up to, I would say, like 195 a person is going to be the range at what they book. Since people are more price sensitive right now, I priced it at 119, which is $20 more than the lowest. But then I also put a save up to 10%, right? So they feel like, oh, I'm getting more for less. And it's only a little bit more than the lower. So I'm going to book this one, right? Because it's a better experience for less. So you kind of want to think about how you're positioning yourself in this specific platform. Now, if you go to Airbnb, where we're listed, we're 195 and 165 a person. So on that platform, I price it
Makes sense.
higher, but that's because it'll still book for that, because there's not a lot of people on Airbnb because they shut down experiences, but we're still on there. So it allows us to like get that higher price. So you just want to make sure that you're covering your costs and you're making money, right? So it's not so much, oh, we have to make the same amount of money on an OTA booking that we do on a direct booking. It's more so what's going to work and what's going to get booked, and you analyze it kind of separately. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Spencer, one of the things we've done is we've actually, increased our prices to offset so that they were, to account for that 20% or whatever the markup is. Is there a negative to doing that? Does like the OTA give you somehow, I don't know, affect you negatively if you're inflating your prices on there to cover their expense, or no?
So as far as I know, there's not really a way for them to tell, unless you're like, because when you connect to the OTA, you can either have your price over API on or off. So if it's off, then that could technically be a trigger to them that your price is different direct, but it's not always necessarily the case. So I don't know if they're dinging listings for that or not.
I don't think they do. They've
doubt-
even told me start that way if you're concerned about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of doubt that they are. I would just say it's okay to raise the price if it still sells and you get a lot of traction for it. Because really when it comes to sales channels, you are going to have sales channel opportunities that don't make sense. Like we're just not going to be able to sell it for what we need to sell it for and get our margin, right? So ultimately, we need to make money in every sales channel. But if we have to price it too low to where we're not making money, then that's just not a good sales channel, and you turn it off. If you can get more money out of it than when you're getting direct, then go for it as long as there's still traction there. But you want the velocity more so than, it's just like any pricing rule, right? The higher you go, the less people book. And where's that fine tuning point to where you want the right price that also has the most velocity. And then what you do is, like, if you still want to funnel bookings, to Shelby's point, then you go into affiliate rules and say, okay, all of these channels are working, but we only want this one to work during the week because we're booked out on the weekends already. Or, we did the report, we're really not overbooked any time. So depending on your fleet size, we're only overbooked on like holidays, these specific days. So we're going to turn off 16 to 18 days for the year. The rest of it we're just going to leave on. So you price it to work really well for the channel, and then you can kind of dial back the flow and get creative on like the affiliate rule side. So like when and where those availabilities show up. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I've seen somebody do, when they found us on Viator, they actually told us they were marketing people, they were customers, but they found us on there, and then they went to our website to find the lower price, and they kind of knew that was what they expected. And so some people are motivated enough to find something and then go look for a better price somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a negative, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of OTAs is like you get the free listing. And I think that's more of an occasional than like the rule. So I'm like, price it to work, get the consistency, but you will have people that find you on an OTA and just book with you direct. Because some OTAs were listed cheaper, but they still book with us direct, more expensive because they just end up calling because they need help. And our name's right here. So it's more so make the sales channel work for the bulk of customers that are out there. And then, yeah, you are going to have those one-offs, and that's part of the benefit of being listed is you are going to have people just call you and be like, hey, I saw you on Airbnb, but we just want to book direct, So, yeah. We don't.
To go back to Drew's initial question really quick too, I think it also depends on your seasonality, right? Like just in knowing like, are we super like when's our peak season? And then if we have more of like the shoulder season, like then we can reduce our prices on these OTAs because at this point, like we just want to get the bookings. So that's why it's important to know how to run those reports in Fair Harbor so you can make informed decisions when it comes to pricing.
Yeah. The other thing too, I was gonna say is, you can change your product for the OTA, right? If I tried to do an 8-hour ride on an OTA, then it probably wouldn't sell as well because I would have to price that a lot higher than our 2-hour rides. So we're listing all of our rides that are at that price point. They are shorter time frames to make up for the lost value that you can actually list for on OTAs to kind of be in a competitive spot, right? We do have ones that are more expensive, like a UTV ride and wine tasting tour we just launched, because that's 3 hours. Plus, we are going to be paying $25 for the wine tasting. So we priced that a little bit higher, but you'll see that we came in a little under just to get it going and see if it would sell, right? So a lot of these new activities, they'll kind of flag as new activities. The sales ones, they kind of just stand out from other ones that don't have a sale. So we're doing a couple things to get extra traction on these new items to launch. But yeah, you can rebuild your item to kind of make sense for the price point too. You don't have to put a 4-hour tour on here for $100, $100 a person.
And to clarify, for the wine tasting tour, our guide is driving them. We do not promote drinking and driving.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to you guys about that because we thought of doing something similar.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw your question. You said anyone to avoid, I'd be surprised, but trying to be conscious of it. Anyone to avoid, can you expand on that question just a little bit?
Yeah, so just like some advertising is better than none, right? But I just want to make sure that like if there's a platform that has a big thing politically or globally where I don't want to be associated with it, or maybe they do, there's fine print somewhere, just things like that.
Mm.
I would be very surprised. It was more of a general question that I didn't expect to get a yes, don't go to Google or something, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, I haven't seen any that people have said like avoid drastically. I mean, you'll see some conversations, on Facebook or whatever. It was like, oh, do these guys pay? Do they not pay? Like we've never not been paid. So I would take people's opinions with a grain of salt and test it out because it's not like it takes an insane amount of work to get on there. But yeah, ultimately, I think the big mistake also people make with OTAs is they don't do the research of the OTA before they get on the platform. So let's say that I'm looking, for things to do in Tucson again, then I can go to Get Your Guide and see already what's on the platform, what's selling, right? We've got some horseback riding, they've got 49 reviews and they've got some traction, right? And look at what's on the platform already and where your product would fit. And so with not a lot of, ATV rides on here besides a half day ATV tour over here, like they're doing it from 232.79 and I'm guessing okay, that's per person. So yeah, there's room there to come in with a product that, you could probably be competitive at this price point for sure, at that or lower. And they've got 17 reviews from having that up there. You know what I mean? So it's probably because of the longer duration, right? That's like a 4 hour instead of 2, but it makes sense because you said you're further from the actual trails. So you would need to have it be longer, like a 3 or 4 hour. And sometimes you can get them to come and book the 2 hour or book a shorter time frame. And then when the guest is actually there on site, it's like, hey, do you want to just pay another $100 and upgrade it to a 4 hour? Like you can make additional upsells and add-ons, and there's other opportunities, when they arrive too. So sometimes you're just getting that customer out of the market and bringing them in. And it's like, how would you like to go for, 4 hours for this much more? All that little stuff adds up when you kind of get that sales channel stuff figured out. But yeah, we want more referred bookings at the right price point. So it's going to take a little bit of testing and prodding um, but the research is a big deal, like going in and seeing what's in your market so that you can compete, you know? Okay. And then this is just one OTA, right? So it's kind of looking at the OTA and saying, okay, what's going to work? Let's get some products on there. It's going to build for the OTA, get them active, get them live, and run with it. And then let's go to the next channel, which could be Viad or something else. Look at those products and then compete on that platform as well, right? So when it comes to OTAs, when you look at the API partner directory, this is kind of the list that I used in the beginning. There's a ton more than what's on this list, right? Airbnb isn't on this list because there's not a connection. So this is the ones that they have the API connection with. But we've had some bookings from Adrenaline, from Civitades, from obviously these big name ones here up top that we've talked about. But there might be some in the East Coast that do better than what would work over here. Get My Boat, they all kind of have pluses and negatives. So you really just have to look at it on your own and see if you have the processes to get set up for it. And then if it's worth dealing with or not, but this will definitely help. Like getting your items switched over to Content Builder will kind of force you to have all the information that you need to actually go and get listed on these OTAs. Because you're going to need the highlights and all of that stuff when you come over to one of these products. Like you'll see when they list it, they show that information in the beginning, some reviews. Here's the highlights listed, the full description. Here's what's included, what's not included, who it's not suitable for, the meeting point. So all this information is somewhat spelled out on the OTA platforms, and it's fairly similar. So that's why I was like, it took Fair Harbor a little bit to kind of get on board with the whole actual content that's needed in every item to push to OTAs. But I was super excited they released it yesterday. so that we could talk about it and be like, hey, here's the content builder. So that would be fun for just, yeah, anyone on this call to get turned on. Any other questions or insights, things that you guys have seen that's worked when it comes to online travel agencies? I mean, it helps you hit your goals. This is what I could say. Like it's yeah, added business, you know, when things get tight. They do perform better in slower seasons too. So we like them because in the off season they're more consistent than our direct or paid marketing.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the potential for, having developing those partnership with competitors and other people in the marketplace that what did you call it?
The Fair Harbor Distribution Network.
Yeah, distribution network. I saw that when I was looking at Hawaiian Airlines, for example. They're the only airline I've ever seen where you go there and they're a complete concierge service for everything you can do in Hawaii because of all of these different plug-in companies. I'm not sure. I think they're using Fair Harbor for that, but they, as an airline, they're like, we're gonna use this as a platform to drive everybody towards our business. And even if they're not going to fly with us, we're still earning revenue and we're developing relationships with those other businesses, other communities. I mean, there's just so much value behind that, right? If you can really leverage that part of it, and then you're actually, automating that process of paying your affiliates. You don't even have to do anything because the OTA is paying them, not you. You don't even have to worry about taxes, payments, anything. Just communicate with them a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the OTAs, they don't charge tax when they sell your product. So by the time you get paid, you do still need to account for some tax. So when you price your stuff out, yeah, do make sure that it's going to be a profitable sales channel for you. And don't be afraid to, like, you don't have to have the lowest price on an OTA, right? Like ultimately on our channels, we're not going to have the lowest price either. We're kind of starting that way, and then we're going to scale up the price as we get reviews, because then there's the credibility to match the level of experience. But like have a plan basically, right? Like outline it and go into it with a plan instead of trying just the easy route of like, hey, put our products on Get Your Guide and see if they sell. Give it some thought, because these items we specifically built for OTAs only. Like they're not really called this or look like this or have the same descriptions on our direct platform. So they were kind of built specifically for Get Your Guide. Yeah.
Well, the other idea that I've kind of thought of that I think it would take quite a bit of work to develop it, but like if you basically created your platform, through Fair Harbor, and then recruit some other affiliates that want to do this distribution network as well, and then you could actually then bring that collection of experiences to like hotels in your area and say, we're going to provide you with a one-stop shop to provide experiences to all your guests that come here. You don't have to worry about having relationships with a bunch of different people. We're kind of your concierge for all of these different activities in the area. And people, if they want another activity, let's say it's horseback riding, do that. We'll go out and find an affiliate that you can get them on board with Fair Harbor and then get them plugged into the distribution network. And now you're kind of creating kind of a service that's beyond what you're doing. You're kind of a concierge service for hotels, and then they don't have to be experts on all that. And even, basically, you're kind of that almost like a sales agent or a travel agent for the hotel chain or the hotel.
Yeah. And that improves the customer experience. Yeah. Ultimately, like you becoming a resource, it kind of turns your product into the thing to do. Plus, we'll tell you whatever else people do around here. So first they do our stuff, and then they also do all these other things,
I mean, you could even do that at the level of a community, right? Like we formed a tourism association in our community, and if we can build, our community website and then have all of these activities plugged into that, then you're actually, helping your whole community by helping some of those other smaller businesses get plugged into the same kind of local network, and the hotels could be part of that, of course, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You'll find other products in a different category that you might be able to refer to. And reciprocal. I mean, that's where those affiliates come in. like a lot of these OTAs, they're not so much like a direct relationship, they're more of a B2B relationship. So we might find somebody locally that's on the Fair Harbor distribution network, but then we'll go direct to them and say, how about we just pay each other 10%, and Fair Harbor doesn't need to be part of the equation. So we'll both make more because we know each other and can set it up, and we don't have to do the
Mhm.
network thing. So you can do direct relationships, right? Like it's all in your control. And when it's easier to do the distribution network, then that's great as well. Sometimes you can just do that in the beginning, and then their product selling. So you're like, okay, now I just want to go make more money on it. Let's set up a direct relationship, show them it's working, and get it done. So yeah, I definitely love kind of that combination of online travel agencies and the what's it called? Affiliates. Yeah. Cool.
Mhm.
Sit down with 101, 30 OTAs, and set new ones. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, OTAs, it's a very, in the beginning for us, it seemed like super complicated. So I'm glad that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned because it is a new realm, but it does provide a lot of value. And yeah, overall, with Rise in general, like we do these mastermind calls so we can get on here and talk about it. But there is the opportunity for, one-to-one meetings and partnering and having us help in the actual build process of all the OT items. Also, I would highly recommend, Shelby mentioned it in the beginning, but we are doing that Rise retreat next month, and we're going to be going over a lot of this as far as like a plan for 2025 and getting like set up. So yeah, we'll get something figured out with you, Brandon, and I lost the chat. Cassidy, I think. So any other last minute questions or thoughts, concerns? I mean, we were
Yeah,
super
maybe, can
excited.
you,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, can you just talk a little bit about the Rise Retreat agenda while we have still a couple of minutes left?
Oh yeah, for sure. So just broke my computer though. Okay, here. Where am I? Stop. Let me just hit capture. I don't know what that did. Okay. So Rise Retreats October 20th to the 24th. So basically we're inviting any tour and attraction company to come and mastermind for basically getting data from 2024 and projecting it forward to 2025 to have a super successful season. Now is definitely the time to plan. Like we're already getting bookings for next year. So whether that's launching new products or figuring out new sales channels, the market's definitely moving to where you need to be able to compete, right? Like it's back to 2019 previous numbers. Like it's just, you've got to compete in order to hit your goals. And that's what we've definitely learned as we've hit our goals this year, is we've had to earn every booking. We're going to be going through 2 masterminds a day. So the full outline of our agenda is on riseretreat.fun. We're going to be doing the 5 pillars of our operation. So we're going to do leadership, talk about an all staff meeting agenda, what that looks like, why it's important to meet with your team once a month and remind them of the vision and goals that you've set for the business for the year. We're going to go through operations and talk about our hours chart analysis, how to set budgets for the team, make sure that your open and closing hours are effective and cost effective, and look at analysis from the years prior as far as availabilities, like when are people wanting to ride, and what have we not yet considered when it comes to when people want to ride or experience our tours or rentals. Marketing, we're going to optimize, talk about optimizing Google My Business and SEO, a little bit more in depth than just listing your business, like how to strategically be in the marketplace in certain listings and rank for them. And then sales, we're going to perfect the phone script, talk about how to win bookings every single time, get a sales script for your team. We've definitely noticed that sales is super important when it comes to closing bookings and being able to, do a value-based pitch rather than always just, pitching the price when they ask and then seeing how they react to it. Like we want to make sure that we're asking questions and doing a proactive, like actual sales approach. So yeah, each day we're doing stuff. We're gonna go over financials, pricing analysis when it comes to OTAs or direct bookings. We're looking, and then we'll at the end make sure we develop a roadmap in our CEO dashboard for 2025. So a lot of deliverables, and then it sounds like a lot of work, but we're also gonna have like a really fun boat day and an ATV ride, and we're gonna send Drew off the cliff rappelling. So see how he reacts to that sales channel. Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll wrap up on the 24th. But definitely a high focus retreat on the tour and activities space, and we want you guys to leave with these deliverables that you can put into place for 2025. So we put a lot of effort and thought into getting that set up. So awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, and then of course, like
recover.
networking opportunities for other people that will be at the retreat. And then just masterminding throughout the day too, right? Just what else can we implement? So it's going to be a lot of fun. I saw the question of if you're not able to make it in person, could we do the mastermind classes like remotely? That's something we can definitely talk about and yeah, see what would make sense for that as well. So that's a good question.
Yeah, because we would love to just have as many people there and hear about it as we can. So if that's something that we can make happen, then we might be able to get something figured out to make that work. So thanks for bringing that
Well, one way,
our attention.
yeah, one way I was just thinking about it after you described the agenda is that you could really treat the retreat as this is our retreat for ourselves also. We're going to go in and be with like-minded people, and we're going to come out of this with a product, which is our strategic plan for the next year. In other words,
Yeah.
it's not just a retreat for everybody collectively, it can also be a retreat for your individual company. If you're disciplined, I mean, we're going to have fun, right? But you also have to be disciplined and say, we're going to walk away from this with a pretty clear plan of what our priorities are going to be for 2025, instead of doing that as a separate meeting in the year. Just combine that with this, because that's kind of what your intent is here anyway.
Yeah, and the goal is to have like high energy too during it, right? Because some of these things like building an hours chart or even developing an all staff meeting, like those aren't necessarily always like the fun things to do. So how can we combine it, have a lot of energy, and with us too, like we want to get you guys to the front of the line. That's the whole point, right? So like, here's what we've done, here's our templates, here's exactly how to run the reports, and then having us in person there with you, like make sure you bring your laptop so we can actively make sure that all of these things are getting done within that time period. And then before, we'll also be sending out some things that we want you guys to come prepared with so that we can make the most of our time that we have while we're in person as well.
Yeah, if you're planning to sit down and think about your business for 2025, like this would be the place to do it, because you're going to be surrounded with people doing the same thing in a similar industry, and you're just going to have a lot of ideas come up that you haven't considered. And yeah, it'll definitely change what your roadmap will probably look like for 2025. It's pretty exciting stuff. We're excited even just for this winter and these channels and what we're setting up. So a lot of really fun changes. If any of you are going to any of the conferences, we will be to pretty much all of them: Arrival, Spark, the Summit. So yeah, we'll definitely look forward to seeing you guys there if you are also there. And that's coming up here in the next couple weeks. So busy times, fun times, and yeah, just motivated to keep going. It's gonna be a really fun change. So glad that we're getting on it proactively. Feels good. Let's do it.
Yeah. And then we're also doing our a webinar next week as well, right?
Oh, sorry, are you asking me?
Yeah. So we'll be doing a webinar, and so we'll be announcing that as well. So our goal is to
Oh,
also
right.
have
Yeah.
those once a month. And that's just added value as well. So feel free to invite anyone to those who are in the tour and attraction space.
Yes. Thanks for the reminder. I was supposed to announce the webinar. We're having an awesome webinar next week. So we're gonna send you guys the link first, so you can get registered. And yeah, there we go. Okay, that's everything, guys. So if there's any other questions, feel free to shoot us a message. But we'll wrap up with that.